Uh, what is this? What are these two doing together? Listen, I lived through the 80s. He wasn't in that movie, and these two never dated, as far as I know. Got them looking like a married couple in some 1980s photo studio, holding hands, resting his cheek on MJ's Jerry curl. That's a nice curl, by the way. I mean, what is this? That's what was running through my head when I saw this picture. Um, then I actually read the headline. Superstar singer narrates story of lovable creature on new album. Took a quick look at the date, December 1982. Man, that's the same time frame as Thriller. There's no E.T. on Thriller. I had to investigate further, so I opened the magazine. The very first paragraph says the following. Michael Jackson is flying higher than ever these days. His two new albums, Thriller, and his narration of the story of the movie creature E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial, have been released. I don't remember anything about that. And, as usual with any album that has Michael Jackson's name on it, they are sure to be chartbusters. He's feeling good about the success of Diana Ross's hit single, Muscles, which he wrote and produced. He's super excited about a movie that he, E.T. producer-director Steven Spielberg, and musician Quincy Jones are collaborating on. And he and his brothers and the Jacksons are getting together to do another world tour. Michael turned 24 in August. That's a great opening paragraph. But there's a little issue about the second album. I was 5 years old when Thriller came out. It's the only thing people talked about. I don't remember any other albums coming out at the same time. What are they talking about? So I had to do a little research. Turns out this was a thing. This other album was produced by MCA Records with permission of Epic Records. They had two conditions. Epic Records said, you will by no means release a single of that very nice song, Someone in the Dark. We don't wish to have it compete with the hottest album of all time, Kanye voice. The album itself, they also demanded, should not be released until after the Thriller album was released. Like I said, they didn't want anything messing with their Epic Records Michael Jackson sales. So MCA said, okay, that sounds great. And then they turned around and released Someone in the Dark as a single and released the album before the Thriller album. Exactly what they said not to do. Now, Ebony apparently wrote this story without understanding that there was a serious conflict brewing, because they talk about it like everything's great. So it turns out Epic promptly sued MCA Records for $2 million. Both companies eventually settled for $500,000 and an agreement that MCA Records would stop the sales of both the audiobook and the single. But 1 million copies of the storybook had already been shipped as the sales were being shut down. Despite this whole issue, Michael Jackson's reading, his little storybook, went on to win a Grammy. That's right. The night Michael Jackson won 8 Grammys, he won 7 for Thriller and 1 for his reading of this book under the Best Recording for Children category. Who knew? I didn't. But there's a few more interesting tidbits in this article, as the interviewer asks some nosy questions. Michael Jackson talks about how he loves E.T. so much because E.T. can fly, and he wishes he could fly as a young boy. This isn't really a unique boyhood fantasy, as most little boys probably wish they could fly. That's why Superman's so popular, because he can fly. Michael talks about how he's just like E.T. because he's like a strange man in a strange land everywhere he goes, and E.T. was a strange thing in a strange land. Michael Jackson loves children. E.T. loves children. That's what Michael Jackson actually said. I didn't put that in there. The interview took place at the Jackson family home, which was undergoing renovations at the time. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, The Jacksons, from VH1, but yeah, it's like that scene. And the home was being renovated and expanded, and Michael Jackson is very rich at this point. He has no limits to what he can do for his parents. I did mention he was only 24 years old, right? He says that the Jackson family home is where he wants to spend most of his time until he gets married and moves to Switzerland. That's kind of an odd thing to say. They ask, well, when do you plan to move to Switzerland? He says, I'm not saying, but it'll be sooner or later, and I definitely plan to do it. Now, from the future, we know that Michael Jackson was married twice, but this didn't involve a move to Switzerland. He married Lisa Marie Presley, daughter of Elvis Presley. Married in 94, divorced in 96. And then he married Debbie Rowe in 96, divorced in 2000. The article speaks about how Tatum O'Neal, who was a child star that I had no knowledge of prior to this, and Michael Jackson had a relationship for many years, and the gossip columns always speculated that they would end up together. They met when Michael was 17 and she was 12. And there was nothing really there. Their relationship resembled something of a 12-year-old's romance. In other sources, he would later talk about how thrilling it was for him to hold her hand. So let's talk about that for a minute. There's a man who's like 18 or 19 talking how thrill it is to hold a 14 or 15-year-old girl's hand. And she talked about how innocent he was and how he couldn't go through with an attempt to kiss her when she was about 15. The interviewer asked if he was serious about anyone right now, and he says Brooke Shields, who was another child actress and became a very famous actress as an adult as well. Years down the line, it was revealed that this was also a very platonic relationship and that they just talked on the phone all the time, never engaged in anything physical, and he would talk to her through her relationships with other men. So you can see that Michael Jackson had something of a very childish idea about romance and women when he was 24. He had more of he had kind of a stunted development in that aspect. And based on what he said about these girls and what he considered serious and what we actually know about it, he was operating at like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old level at the age of 24. That's a little bit sad. I'm kind of sad for him on that. And then the next question was the most surprising for me. The interviewer asked if he had any black ladies in his life, and he said, well, you wouldn't take me seriously. Try me. It's Diana Ross. I love her. You mean as a big sister? No, that's not what I mean. See, I told you wouldn't take me seriously. You're not saying that you'd like to marry Diana Ross, are you? Oh, yeah, I'm saying that. But she's so much older than you. You mean you feel something other than a close friendship for her? Uh-huh. And what does that have to do with it? Look at it this way. How old would you be if you didn't even know how old you are? That question makes almost no damn sense. But I think I understand what he's getting at. The article ends with the following. Michael is reportedly one of today's wealthiest young entertainers, but he says that only he and his accountants and the IRS know what he's worth. It's something that I just don't talk about, he says. All I'll say is that I'm very wealthy, very, very wealthy, and I could retire today. He's also one of the most popular, best-liked entertainers in Hollywood. He says he has only about 3 really close friends. He refuses to name them because the people I don't name would be upset. So, what is this? This is a picture of Michael Jackson, the cover of an album that was on the market for a very short period and was basically disappeared. But you can hear it. It's actually online. Some people have uploaded it to YouTube. You can listen to it in all its glory, but you can't download it. All right. Till next time.